Okay, we're going to jump way, way, way ahead now. Historical items. Here is a very historical item. This is a Walther PPK. Gold-plated, or at least it has the remnants of the gold plating on it. And the historical factor about this is that this was the very gun that Reich Marshal Herman Goring surrendered at the end of the Second World War to his U.S. lieutenant captor, Jerome Shapiro. Mr. Shapiro was of Jewish descent, and he was the man who captured Herman Goring. Essentially what had happened was Goring, it was the very end of the war, things were falling apart for the Germans, and as we understand it, Goring had reminded the Fuhrer in the closing days that the Fuhrer had made a pact with Goring early on in the war that if anything happened to him, that he would like command to pass to Goring. And Goring, pompous as he was even to the end, suggested to the Fuhrer when things were really going bad that maybe now was the time to pass things along to him. The next day, as we understand, Hitler put out a death notice for Goring and had the SS searching for him. Then shortly thereafter, Hitler committed suicide. Goring was aware of the fact that of what had just happened, and it was the end of the war anyways, and he didn't want to get shot by the SS, but perhaps even more badly, he didn't want to get captured by the Russians who were advancing rapidly. So he called ahead, and he wanted to surrender to General Eisenhower. Eisenhower would have nothing to do with Goring. He didn't respect him and wanted nothing to do, but he contacted the commanding officer in the nearby area, and this commanding officer made arrangements to meet Goring at a certain castle. Goring never showed up at the castle, and as time went by, the commanding officer got concerned. He had a couple of small units there, sent them out. One was Lieutenant Shapiro's unit. He and another serviceman took off in a Jeep mounted with a .50 caliber machine gun, and they went 80 miles beyond enemy lines, 80 miles into enemy lines, looking for Goring. They finally discovered him in a huge traffic jam with his Mercedes, or fleet of Mercedes perhaps, with trunks and everything tied on the top. He had his family and his attendants with him, and he was stuck in this traffic jam. Shapiro approached him and demanded his surrender, which Goring was very happy to concede to, and Shapiro demanded his revolver. Now, Goring didn't carry a German pistol. He had thousands of guns. He loved guns, had a huge collection of guns. What he wore during the war was this pearl-handle Smith & Wesson. And it was his intentions to surrender this pistol to General Eisenhower, who, by the way, as I said earlier, never would see him and had nothing to do with him. The pistol, as I understand, the Smith & Wesson now is at West Point. But anyways, Shapiro demanded that he turn over a pistol as a sign of surrender. So Goring rummaged around, pulled out this gold-plated Walther, which was probably in mint condition at the time that he surrendered it to Shapiro. And he also surrendered a couple of other things. And Shapiro then took him back in, and the rest is history. When I say the rest is history, after Goring was captured, it turns out that Shapiro was spoke very fluent German, and because of this, Goring requested that he be one of the guards guarding him during the Nuremberg trials, and that's exactly what happened. That wasn't Shapiro's wishes. He would like to have gone back home because it was the end of the war and he was anxious to get home, but he served as guard. And in this second illustration that you see here, there is Miss Emmy Goring, Mrs. Emmy Goring and her daughter Etta, and in the background is a U.S. serviceman. That's Jerome Shapiro, the very man who captured the Goring family. The gun, the finish on the gun, as I've alluded to, is somewhat worn, and for very good reason. Shapiro was very, very proud of the fact that he was a serviceman. He was very proud of his actions on that day that he captured Goring, going behind enemy lines 80 miles. It was very, very dangerous. The SS was all around, and it was no walk in the park. After the war, he very proudly would give talks at various institutions and show his pistol that he captured from Goring, and everyone got to handle it. And over the years, thousands of people handled this pistol, and that's why the gold is worn as it is. There was a show once narrated by Walter Cronkite in which Shapiro's actions were credited. The gun carries a pre-sale estimate of $30,000 to $90,000, and this is lot 2478. One last item I'd like to show you, and it's we don't know who it belonged to, so it isn't historic from that standpoint, but it's very historic in that it's one of only a couple known to exist like that. And this is this sailor's jumpsuit dating to the 1830s to 1840s. This is a remarkable, remarkable remnant of a uniform, sailor's uniform. It's remarkable because of this decoration, this embroidered work. The reverse has a large panel with similar embroidery work, and also the sleeves have embroidery work with anchors, etc., as you can see here. As I said, it's an embroidered sailor's jumper. It dates to 1830 to 1840. In our research, we could find only one similarly adorned object, and that is a pair of pants and a sea bag, which is at Winterthur. But that is of a much later period, around the Civil War, 1860. So this is much earlier and thus very, very rare. Almost unique. Condition is generally very, very good, except for the fact that the color is somewhat faded, and the estimate is $10,000 to $20,000. This is lot 2088. This is just a sampling of some of the great and historic items that we have here in this sale. The sale is truly spectacular. We're going to have some more videos up displaying some of the various other wonderful things in this particular auction. I hope you can join us at the auction to participate on some of these rare historic items. $50 now, $55 now, $60 now, $65 now, $70 now, $75. Sold $70. Thank you very much.